Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's DrayTek webinar. Today's topic is our product launch for the Vigor C410ax and C510ax, our new mobile broadband routers. Before we get into the main presentation, I'd like to start with some introductions. I'm Alex Schuker, Head of Product at DrayTek UK, and with me today is Lukasz, one of our product specialists. Lukasz is closely involved with the kind of product development, new features and firmware developments, which is why he's the perfect presenter for today's topic, our new range of mobile broadband routers. Before we get into the main topic, I'd like to just go through some introductions. This presentation is designed for all DrayTek users, so it should be applicable to anyone who's interested in DrayTek products and these mobile broadband routers. It's a launch presentation on the Vigor C410 and C510ax products. It's going to be mainly about the product capabilities, and we'll go into a little bit of the technical. We'll likely follow up with other presentations that go into a lot more technical detail to do with getting under the hood of how you would set everything up and everything you would need to know to best utilize these products. But we'll be touching a bit of that in today's presentation, but it's likely we'll follow up with some more technical presentations in due course to help you understand the full capabilities of everything that these products can do. The webinar is being recorded and it will be available for streaming later. If you are on this webinar, then you're going to be receiving a confirmation email for follow-up, so you'll get a copy of the video that you'll be able to then pass around to your colleagues, or if you happen to get interrupted and need to leave before the end, then you'll be able to see that. But we'll also be publishing it online on the DrayTek website for people as well. During the webinar, you're very welcome to ask any questions. We accept questions over the chat function, so you should, in your control panel, see a questions box where you'll be able to type that in. That go directly to us, where we'll be able to respond to you privately, directly. But at the end, we'll also have a Q&A session where we'll take some of the popular questions and answer them over the audio.
Thank you, Alex, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. So today we are introducing our new broadband routers, the Vigor C410 and Vigor C510. There are two exciting products that run a lot of existing and new features, and one of the key differences you will notice is the new DrayOS 5 operating system. I will show you guys quickly how to set up some settings on it. It will be a brief pre-recorded stuff as well, and then we will summarize with some compatibility, pricing, availability, and the Q&A session. So again, on the question side, you can use the question section and ask any questions. Our team of technicians are handling the questions you may have, so please do use that frequently. So here are our Vigor C410 and C510 routers, and the key difference between the two models and most of the DrayTek routers we currently have is that they come with the built-in 4G-5G modem, and that would be an ideal option for primary or secondary connection. So the devices are designed to be used in Soho environments, small office, home office, and they can be used maybe as kind of a modem or as a main device, main router for the location you may install them in. They come with 4 gigabit LAN ports, well, subject to the model. So we've got 3+1 for the C510 and 4+1 LAN ports for C410 routers. There's AX 3000 wireless on board, so you've got a great wireless coverage there as well. And they can handle up to 4 VPN simultaneous channels with up to 370 megabits per second IPsec throughput. And the final key section here, I need to mention is the Vigor ACS. It's a managed router. So basically, wherever you are, you can still manage the routers, even though they are small Soho devices. And not only that, with Vigor ACS, you can manage your DrayTek switches and DrayTek access points. So let's have a look at the hardware side of the C410 and C510 routers. So number one here, you can see that they come with a dedicated WAN Ethernet port. So all of the Ethernet interfaces are gigabit. And number two, for the C410, there is an extra port. You can see that it's a switchable option, so you can set them as 1, 2, or LAN port. Then section number 3 is basically 3 or 4 LAN ports here. All of them are gigabit. And finally, number 4 is our SIM slot. So there's like a little tray there that you can insert 2 SIM cards. SIM cards. That's quite useful. One of the SIM cards can be active. The second one is always in failover mode. So what I would recommend you guys is to use 2 different providers. So it would be good if there is one provider that is operating on a specific network, let's say O2, and the second one won't use O2 infrastructure. It would be maybe Vodafone or some other providers available in your area. Some other hardware related stuff is basically obviously the factory reset button, wireless LAN, and the models, the 2 routers come with 4 external antennas, 2 LTE and 2 Wi-Fi antennas available. In fact, you can see it on this picture as well. So the Vigor C410 and C510 is a great idea to use them for backup, like 4G, 5G backup. You can use them with fiber Ethernet broadband connections with ONT terminal available. And there's a solution for small or even large networks with multiple small sites. And it's fully compatible with Vigor ACS, I mentioned earlier, so we can do auto provisioning and central management as well. The key features. So number one, obviously, is the C series, because cellular broadband is available out of the box. The Vigor C510 comes with the integrated 5G/4G LTE modem. So we say there is a category 19 option there, and we can benefit from all the features like carrier aggregation method, and that would be a perfect for fast connectivity and like VPN as well and stuff. The Vigor C410 can handle Cat6 connectivity and it's 4G compatible. It also supports failover mode and can be used as primary or failover router. What I mentioned earlier is that there is a dual SIM slot, so we can use 2 mobile network providers. If something happens with one network, a signal is down, and then the router will try to switch to the second one. And if for some reason that's not available, or maybe there is no second SIM card, we can use Ethernet port or 2 Ethernet ports to fail over to some other internet providers. Here is a quick demonstration on how to configure the new DrayOS 5 LTE routers. So we would go to the configuration section and then WAN. You can see the selection of wireless WANs as well and other WAN interfaces. WAN is selected here, so we can enable username and password if needed for your SIM card. Notice that it's set to auto, including auto APN. So basically, no settings were really changed here. We just leave it the way it is from factory default. I actually put a SIM card for this recording, and then it's kind of almost real life recording here. And you can see within minutes the SIM card was detected and the router connected to one of the providers. Here it's Talk Mobile. So it's as simple as that. You may not even need to configure anything. You just put the SIM card in, power up the router, and leave it running for some time, and it will just pick up the network you need. If you need to set up some settings because the SIM card provider requires to use some specific stuff like APN, username, password, obviously that's available. If you need some additional help, obviously you can contact support as well. But most of the time you can just pick the APN names from our website. So what's on board as well? Well, we've got the AX3000 Wi-Fi, so that's kind of standard now for DrayTek devices. And the C410 and C510, they come with dual band detachable antennas. And the link rate is on the screen, so in total is around 3000 theoretical speed. So obviously it will be a bit slower in real world, and if we do use only 2.4 5G, then we would have to add the connection or split it across multiple end devices connecting there. The routers are also mesh compatible, and I will cover that in details later. There's a whole new section on DrayOS 5 operating system that handles that. What comes with AX is the multi-MIMO, so we can have multiple devices connected. So this basically serves users simultaneously, and it increases this capacity and results in higher speed per user. There is also BSS coloring that helps in mitigating problems of co-channel interference found in all the Wi-Fi networks, and some other features like TWT, target wake time, that ensures that end devices spend more time in standby while sending and receiving data more economically. So basically what it does, it reduces energy consumption and increases overall efficiency. There are obviously other wireless features, and the C series routers come with some great DrayTek features such as firewall as well. Firewall and URL reputation, to be more precise here. That's actually a paid license needed to use this service. There is a 30 days trial available on every new device. URL reputation is basically a service that helps to filter the traffic, and it's based on category. So if you want to block specific categories, let's say phishing or I don't know, alcohol, that can be configured on the router. So you don't need a license per device connected on your network. You just need one license applied to your router. And I will cover that later as well, but C410s and C510s also support multiple subnets. So if you have 4 subnets, you again only need one license for that. Some other features that are very useful, for example, dynamic DNS. So there's a service that DrayTek runs called DrayDDNS, and it's completely free, so it's worth using. Why would you use that? So basically, it keeps the domain name system records updated with the correct IP address. So what it does, basically, it maps a domain name to a dynamic IP address that might be assigned to your router by the ISP. So basically, the system ensures that even when the IP address changes, the domain name can still be used to access the router or your VPN services or any other services. Some other features you may find on higher spec business routers, and that includes now this Soho Ranch, is the hotspot web portal. You may have seen that on some other DrayTek routers, but what it is basically like a web page that appears when one of the end users connects to your Wi-Fi network, and then you can require them to take specific actions. For example, logging in or accepting terms and conditions before getting access to the internet. So it's quite useful. So we can redirect users to a specific page instead of directing, allowing them to browse the internet. So you've got some business reasons for that, like you can display terms of use, maybe legal reason for that. You can do some Wi-Fi marketing or collect some emails, and can grow your email list as well. And then you can notify your customers about some promos and stuff. Another section that is important and is DrayTek routers are well known for is the VPN. Again, no license for that. It just comes out of the box. We've got up to 4 VPN tunnels, up to 370 megabits per second IPsec throughput, and both LAN to LAN and dial-in teleworker VPN types are supported. So it's a great thing to use. Let's say you use a router of this type even at home and you want to access some resources. Maybe you were working on some projects and you save your files on your local computer or server. A quick dial-in VPN is a method to securely access it, and modern protocols are available. So we've got OpenVPN, WireGuard, IPv2, IPsec available. And finally, we are reaching the phase where we are talking about DrayOS 5. Have you guys used any of the DrayTek devices that run this operating system? Maybe you can type in the question section saying yes, would like to count the numbers if you had a chance to play with the latest DrayOS 5. If not sure how to check that, obviously you can see the interface, which is slightly different, kind of grayish, and the key section here on the dashboard is basically the firmware version. So if your DrayTek device runs firmware that is 5 dot something, that means it's a DrayOS 5 firmware, DrayOS 5 device. So please do use the questions section so we can see how many people actually did use DrayOS 5. And what I would like you guys to now go through with me is the quick setup. There's like a small video section here. The next slide is basically just covering the LTE-1 configuration we have just seen. So it was just a matter of basically putting the SIM cards in, but if you need to change the settings for the LTE connection, it can be done. Same applies for some other internet connections, including wired Ethernet and wireless. So I'm gonna skip that for now. But what about the LAN and VLAN capabilities? That's another great option available on C410 and C510 routers, because we have 3+1 LAN ports available, or 4+1 on C410 routers. So one of the interfaces can be set to WAN or LAN. There are 4 LAN subnets, so we can configure additional subnets for maybe guests or business, production, testing purposes, whatever is needed. Each of them can have usual stuff like DHCP server relay configured. So this is a great tool basically to segment the network and improve security and efficiency on your network. Up to 8 VLANs, so if that is needed, we've got that option here. Basically LANs and subnets and VLANs, they got to go together these days. And bind IP to MAC is another option that is quite common, quite useful to lock your servers or IP cameras to the same IP address. And interLAN routing is available, so if you have 2 or more subnets, the router can basically route the traffic between them. So how would you configure that? We basically just need to go to the interface again. The section under configuration is used, and then for LAN, it would be in here where we just configure the interface. So it's a recorded presentation here, a video, but it basically takes seconds to configure. So here we configure LAN 3, and the IP address selected is 192.168.3 section. Then the EHP settings are applied. And that's it. The router should be happy with the new subnet. It takes seconds basically, maybe a minute for the router to recognize that. And then we configure VLANs. So a VLAN ID is configured here 33, a LAN subnet selected for that. And once it's applied, we can move to the interface VLAN. So by default, every single interface on the router will support both of 3 subnets or whatever the number we have selected. If we need to specify a port that is responding only on a single interface, then the port type is set to access. And here the subnet that we just configured was selected, 33. So it will be untagged, and then any end device like a laptop will be able to connect through that interface to subnet LAN 3. Some other features we can see on DrayOS 5 is IAM. So it stands for Identity and Access Management. So basically, DrayOS 5 is a zero trust ready system. There is that new concept of configuring security related features in one section, which is IAM, and you can basically define the devices and the IP addresses and MAC, and then apply some policies if needed. So access to your local resources and so on. And we can lock it down to MAC addresses, and that will be linked with the IPs. So basically users or devices can be configured there as well. I think this one is more common to be used by you guys. So virtual controller, a quick video will be presented here in a moment as well. So what's changed recently is that DrayOS 4 devices had like the AP management, mesh, external devices section. All that was merged together, and actually some extra bits and pieces are added. The Soho routers, such as the C410 and C510, can manage up to 20 access points and up to 5 switches. And not only that, mesh is part of the feature now, where up to 8 devices can be linked together in a mesh group. If the number exceeds here, so 7 nodes and 1 root, then any hardwired access points can still be managed by the system. So the system automatically detects stuff and picks the devices that need to be configured through mesh or AP management feature. Why would you use virtual controller? Because it helps you to automatically discover the DrayTek device, such as the switch or the wireless access point. Provisioning, so settings can be applied to switches and access points in a matter of seconds, really. Monitoring, obviously, yes. So if you are not sure what's happening with an IP or access switch, or you would like to see the status, then you can just go to that section and see the device and the status in one place. And the maintenance, so once the devices are fully synced in this system, then you can do some extra stuff such as factory reset, save the configuration, and so on. So here's a quick presentation on how would you use the virtual controller. and basically we just can select one of the options. So the first one I would go for is the AP adoption. For presentation purposes, obviously the device has been already discovered. It basically takes a minute or two to complete that task, and then once we select a device, we adopt it, and again a minute or two should only take to add it to the system. Now the new access point here is the AP805, is basically syncing with the router, and within minutes you can see that the device information is fully synced with a router. Right now we are refreshing the page again, and now you can see more details, including extra buttons like reboot now, factory reset, or sync now. So all that is available from a single module. Virtual controller is your best friend if you use DrayTek routers and access points and switches. Please note that DrayTek, new DrayTek DrayOS 5 devices are also fully compatible with Vigor ACS. If you had the chance to use that platform, you will be happy to see that it's also handling the DrayOS 5 devices. We had some webinars about Vigor ACS, so you might need to check our website to find out more details about that. Speaking of which, I wonder if you actually have used Vigor ACS. Could you please type in our questions section Vigor ACS if you had the chance to use it already? If you would be interested, then maybe leave your phone number there, and then somebody will contact you with some details. Now we move into the section where we actually gonna cover some Vigor AP management I've already mentioned earlier, but it's quite important to see what the compatibilities are. So the Vigor C410ax and Vigor C510ax are mesh compatible with Vigor AP 1062, 962, 906, and 805. So you've got your router as a mesh route, and then you can add some nodes. And here is the list of the access points, current access points, and they are compatible. Some older models, they are Wi-Fi 5 devices, and if they are Wi-Fi 6, they basically compatible with slightly older routers. So if you're using the latest technology, please do use compatible devices. However, if you are using router-based AP management, so hardwired access points through a switch or directly to the router, then you can use all of the access points listed here. That includes the AP903, Wi-Fi 5 devices, and so on. Now, I would like to cover the mobile broadband routers that DrayTek offers, and it is important to emphasize the fact that the main difference between the Vigor C510 and Vigor C410 is that they basically come with different LTE 5G capabilities. So you can see highlighted two models here, and maybe I will just cover quickly everything we can see on the screen. So the fixed WAN ports, you've got one Ethernet port for every single device, including the highest spec 2927 series. There are 3 or 4 LAN ports for the new C routers, and the 2927 series, for example, offers 5 Ethernet ports. Obviously, we probably would use some additional switches to increase that number, so I don't think that's a big deal here. What really matters is the cellular mobile broadband section here. So let's focus on that, and we can see that 4G-5G is available on routers such as C510ax, and also some previous models you may have seen before, the 2927 LAX-5G would be one of them. They use almost identical hardware there, and both of them are Cat19. Let's compare them by one here. The speeds are quite similar as well. If you would rather go for something more budget friendly, because maybe just a backup option, then maybe you go for the C410, where 4G is only available, Cat6 module on board. There's no 5G though, but 4G is good enough for most use cases, I think. What's also important when we compare the routers is that the number of NAT sessions is quite similar everywhere, but then you see the performance of the router by, for example, number of VPN tunnels supported. So the Soho devices usually support 2 VPN tunnels. The C410 and C510 can handle up to 4. Higher spec devices such as the 2927 can handle up to 50 VPN tunnels. There are some other business class related features available on board. Some of them I have mentioned earlier. You can see Wi-Fi specification on the top section, and the highlighted is the management by Vigor ACS. So yes, both new routers are also compatible with the new platform. And the other key element when purchasing a router, at least for me, is the total maximum firewall or NAT throughput. Here we can see it's marked as 940, so it's an ideal product for fiber Ethernet connection, and then maybe we can use 4G or 5G as a backup, or the other way around if fiber is a bit slower. And the 2927 series, they can basically handle more, up to 1800 megabits per second. And why is that? Is because the 2927 series can have multiple WAN connections active at the same time. So if we use C410 or C510, we can benefit from 4G or 5G connection, and then we can switch to maybe Ethernet. With the 2927, there is Ethernet ports available, and then we can have, let's say, 4G or 5G running at the same time. And so 2 simultaneous connections available. That's why the router can handle over a gig connection. However, there are cases where we may need still some kind of ADSL or VDSL connection. So we need a solution out of the box. Something that can connect to still available telephone line connections and can handle 4G or 5G. So the 2927 can be replaced with the 2865 series, and we do have 2 models available on the market for some time now. So instead of the first fixed WAN interface, you would see a built-in ADSL/VDSL RJ11 interface. So we've got that built-in DSL modem. So the LAX 5G can handle 4G and 5G. Again, the same similar spec versus the C510ax. And the 2865 LAC can handle 4G. Both higher spec devices can have multiple Ethernet connections active at the same time. I think that is a good summary for the range of the DrayTek mobile broadband routers. Maybe I can quickly cover some pricing and availability. So the 2 routers we have just covered today, at the price you can see on the screen, it says SRP plus VAT, and the models 5G and 4G models, they should be available from today, 15th of May 2025. So let's summarize today's webinar. And by the way, if you have some more questions, please do drop them in the question section. Why I would buy the C410 or C510 router? So first of all, they come with the built-in 4G-5G modem, and so that's a great solution for most of the environments where internet connectivity is the must. That would include caravan sites, retail, and so on. So if we need to deal with some purchase like credit card and stuff, then that's probably the best option, so we don't lose business. It's basically a constant internet connection available. They also come with the Wi-Fi, so they can share the internet access across area, and they can manage Vigor access points if we need to add wireless around the location the units are installed. They also come with some extra features such as the VPN. Up to 4 tunnels can be connected, so remote users, or we can actually connect to remote sites as well. Up to 5 LAN ports, so that gives you some flexibility. There's no need to add a switch unless obviously there is a bigger network expected, and they can be managed remotely from our Vigor ACS platform. So I think we can slowly start the Q&A session. I wonder how many questions we've got today.
Thank you, Lukasz. Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks
Hello.
very much for all the questions that people have asked during the session. That's been really good, and we've I believe got back to almost everyone. I can see there's some more questions coming in now, which is fantastic. What we'll do is start off with some of the questions we've had already, and then as you're answering some, I'll look through to see any of the live ones that come in. So we'll try and get some of those answered. We're got a few minutes, I think, so we've got about 6 minutes left in the schedule, so that should be good for a bunch of questions. Right, so let's get started. So the first one is a question around comparing the 5G products that we've got in the DrayTek range. So the Vigor C510ax compared to the 2865 LAX 5G and the 2927 LAX 5G. So is there a difference in the throughput speeds comparing those two products? I think that's possibly been prompted by the comparisons you were doing.
So yes, that's a good question, and definitely the answer is yes. However, please note that the new routers can handle up to a gig, really, which is kind of the speed your internet provider will quote you with. So over 900 is something that you would expect from the gigabit fiber, and that's supported by the C510 and C410. Same applies for the higher spec 2927 or 2865 routers, but they can actually handle 2 or more internet connections simultaneously, so hence there is more throughput available for those devices.
Oh, so that 1800 is not the single WAN throughput necessarily?
The single WAN throughput for the 2927 is up to 950 megabits per second. So kind of the same value here you can see for the Soho products.
Okay, and then there's kind of a follow-up related to that. Is it specifically to the 5G speeds? What would be the maximums that could be expected on the 5G products?
So that would be obviously subject to the signal strength and so on. So you've got theoretical speeds, and then you've got real world speed, which would be roughly around 600, I would say.
Right. Yeah. So I think we're saying, and the speed is the same. I think for the C510 and the 2927 5G and the 2865 5G when it comes to the way we phrase it would be real world throughput. That although you can get a slightly higher negotiated physical rate, what we've been seeing is the real world throughput speed you can get is up to around 600 megabits per second. Good, thank you. And then there's another question is, can the router connect to 2 cellular connections simultaneously?
So the router can connect the C series. They can connect to a single internet connection, and if the router detects that the connection is down, then it will immediately try to use a failover if available and configure. So it will switch from, let's say, 1.1 to 1.2, or from 1.2 to 1.1, or whatever is configured and what order we select. So that's what's available on the Soho products. If you guys need something that can handle more simultaneous internet connections, then please do consider the 2927 series or the 2865 routers. They can handle 2 or more simultaneous internet connections.
But not 5G though, or 4G. It's single WAN on those as well.
Yes. So if the question is specific about the 4G, 5G, the modules that are available on any of the routers you can see or you have seen today, there is only a single SIM card active. So if one SIM card connection is down, then the router can switch to the second one. It won't be able to run both simultaneously. So you've got a single option there with failover available. And yeah, that would be
Okay.
it.
Good. Okay, thank you. And there's a question about kind of deployment recommendations and kind of comparing I guess the person who's thinking about different use cases compared to using it as a failover compared to using it as the primary when it comes to the mobile broadband. In your experience, the question is, do you think it's feasible to run a site 24/7 on mobile broadband? Is that something that is going to work?
In terms of technical side for the C510 and C410, definitely yes. In terms of the budget, please check with your provider. However, I think most of the contracts these days gives you a lot of data to use. So I probably would use it if I don't have my broadband connection available. So I would use one of the new routers for that. Definitely yes.
Yeah, and we've seen in our experiences with sites that have been on mobile broadband only, it's naturally very dependent on the network operator, the carrier, and the kind of level of service they're providing. But from the point of view of the router, it's very happy to be on it 24/7 and can pass gigs and gigs and gigs of data. So yeah, we have seen some situations where the mobile broadband usage is off the charts when it comes to the number of gigs that get used in a month on a mobile broadband. So yeah, do make sure you've got something where the SIM is kind of intended for that sort of purpose. But yeah, from a hardware point of view, it's definitely capable and quite used. It's surprising sometimes where people actually have it on. Sometimes it's kind of people will have a site where the main broadband wasn't live quick enough, and then that they ended up having to use it out of necessity. But you can get some good experiences. I think the one area is about the applications you're looking at. The thing that I think is kind of something to be a little bit more cautious at is whether you're doing phone systems on the cellular, because that's something where it can be very sensitive to any latency changes. 5G is better than 4G with regards to that. Generally, the latencies tend to be lower, but you are at the you've got the network that's kind of out of your control, so it's very much dependent on the level of service of the mobile operator, and there it's to do in some cases with where it is and what other surges and peaks you might have. So if it's somewhere where it's going to be very busy at certain times, if there's any events or that sort of thing, then that can cause more issues on the stress that network has. So although the mobile operators do look at this and are expanding and improving their networks, is something to take into account when you're looking at the location and the kind of other kind of subscribers that would be in the vicinity. Like, I don't know, something like a match day, for example, if it was near a football stadium, may have a big impact on the mobile network that's available for some people. So it's those sort of things, a consideration to do with where it's installed as much as anything else.
But in some remote areas, I've seen, Alex, that people were actually going for the mobile broadband instead of even satellite or ADSL, VDSL. In most cases, they were actually using mobile broadband as the primary connection. So the C510 or C410 could be used for that. And then the ADSL or VDSL wasn't even available. And then they would use satellite, but there is some latency issue there quite often. So mobile broadband was usually a better solution.
Yeah, it's interesting how mobile broadband has can get better coverage and better availability in some sense compared to fixed line. And a question just about management now, to do with managing the devices. You've mentioned and shown the devices can be managed by Vigor ACS. Just a question from people about which versions of ACS are the ones that supported from.
Okay, so if you are using latest Vigor ACS, then that obviously would be compatible. And let me find you the
that's
slide.
version 372 is the current version. So that's the version that can manage the devices fully.
So here's the AP management compatible, but we're looking for Vigor ACS specifically, right? So
yeah.
Can't find the slide right now, but if you guys actually connected to Vigor ACS, most of the servers hopefully run the latest version, then you should be able to manage your devices now.
Yeah, so that's version Vigor ACS version 3 on version 372. That's the current version. That's what the cloud versions are running as well. So thank you. And a question about DrayOS 5. Which versions do and don't support DrayOS 5? Can you just give an overview of the differences, because there's been some common questions about that and which routers use DrayOS 5.
Right. Okay. So I believe most of the routers that we are about to launch this year, if not all, are going to use DrayOS 5. And maybe I can just quickly highlight it here. So if you see a DrayTek router that runs firmware 5. Whatever the number follows, then that's obviously a DrayOS 5 operating system, and the interface is obviously different to what we have seen before. You've got like a new main menu on the left-hand side and slightly different sections. It's still quite similar to what we have seen before. However, it's, in my opinion, well organized. What I mean by that is that you can configure most of the features and things within a single page, so it's even quicker to use and configure stuff. Now, in terms of the devices, we've got the Vigor 2136. That was the first, I would say, real router that we launched, and it runs DrayOS 5. You could also use the Vigor 167. That's a modem router device. So that was officially the first DrayOS 5 device. You also may be using one of the access points that run DrayOS 5, including the Vigor AP805, and you could be using the Vigor 962C or 1062C. If they are not running the latest firmware, they might be using firmware 1. something, which is pre-DrayOS 5. Those are the devices that you can upgrade to DrayOS 5 firmware, and they are fully compatible. I don't think there are any other devices that you can upgrade. So the full list basically is the 2136, Vigor 167, the new C510ax, C410ax, and we expect more products to be available soon.